Okay, is there a surprise cut coming at Cowboys camp? Here's Zach Wolchuk for the details on that.
Yeah, so I was just wondering, I read an article from Blogging the Boys. They were talking about C.J. Goodwin. He might be cut after training camp. And I feel like C.J. Goodwin's a guy that his spot's been secured because he's your special teams ace. They just haven't. They know his role. They're not asking him to play any defense. He's out there for special teams. And, in fact, his numbers in terms of defensive snap percentage have just declined every single year. He started at 0.29%. He went to just under 2%, 1.6%. Last year it was 0.08% of defensive snaps. He had a whopping 1 defensive snap last year. So you're talking about a guy that's giving you absolutely nothing but being a special teams player. If indeed you have another defensive back that you don't want to cut, and the Cowboys have several. I mean, you look at Eric Scott, who they drafted that they're going to like a lot. A guy like Nashawn Wright, I thought, might have knocked Goodwin out of his spot last year because I think Nashawn Wright is a really good gunner. I think he's really good at special teams. When he was activated last year, I thought he did a really good job on special teams. Now, this might not be a shocking roster cut, but I took to Twitter and I said, hey, who are some people on the Cowboys that you think might be surprises? I got answers like Jordan Lewis.
Yeah.
Kelvin Joseph was very popular.
Would not be a surprise then.
Neville Gallimore, maybe one at defensive tackle.
That's the one seed in my mind. He was
kind
healthy.
of expected.
Yeah, I kind of expected at this point. He was a healthy scratch for a lot of those games last year, and now they've retooled in the interior in a way that I think allows them to make Gallimore expendable.
Yeah, and I mean, he was so bad last year. Watching his tape was just, it was awful. It was awful.
How about Dante Fowler?
Dante Fowler's a good one. And how about this one?
That would just be a numbers game completely because he's obviously plenty good enough to be a rotational edge rusher.
As a rotational edge rusher, I agree. I think a lot of your problems when it came to run defense and setting the edge, I think he was a big issue there.
Little Robert Quinn in him.
Yeah, I think he was an issue there when it came to stopping the run.
That's probably the one problem with having like a 1-year prove-it deal for edge rushers. They're just like, let me go try and rack up as many sacks as possible because that's what will get me paid.
Like legit surprise cuts. Let me throw something crazy at you. What happens if Tyron Smith has another injury, right? Now, is that injury retirement or injury release? I don't know how that goes.
Okay.
What happens if Hankins shows up fat and out of shape, like he hit an age wall? You know, and he's like, man, I can't get my body back. I don't have my push. I think those are older guys who were expecting to be on the team at the end of camp, but things could happen that makes you reevaluate it.
How about Jabril Cox?
Okay. I like that you brought up Jabril Cox. That was one of the answers I got, and that would be stunning to me because they don't have a lot of depth on defense. I still like some talent and ability, but you know what? Maybe Jabril Cox needs a good preseason and training camp to make sure he makes the roster.
The thing about it is, I know in OTAs and mini camps, I was seeing Malik Jefferson get a lot of run with the first defense.
Yeah, we did.
And I was starting to think Jefferson, Harper, guys like that, what if they outplay in training camp, they outplay Jabril Cox. Now, that's not saying that Jabril Cox can't go and get released and then be on the practice squad, because I think that's what – but if you told me that he was just okay during training camp and the others played better, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
We got a text in, and I also got this on Twitter. We talked about him earlier, and Brian, you've been talking about him quite a bit. What if Malik Hooker doesn't look any good?
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is, like I say, Malik Hooker is they trust Malik Hooker. The problem that I have with Malik Hooker is, though, I think that they could do better with range. That's what I'm talking about. But, you know, hey, was it Pro Football Focus? Everybody's got a high grade on him and all. But if you look at the numbers, 20 of 27 opportunities, quarterbacks had like an 87 rating against him.
Yeah, his second half of the season was not good.
Giving up 11 yards a catch. I mean, I'm just talking about Malik Hooker in coverage is what I'm really talking about.
His calling card.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Right, I mean, coming out of college, he showed outstanding range and coverage ability.
So, I don't totally agree with the numbers of Pro Football Focus.
We will be in Oxnard, California next week, and we're going to have an eye on all these guys. It is a massive camp for a number of players.